And we're live. Okay, so I'm doing this a little bit different. Usually for my podcast episodes, I just do, I record via a podcast like portable recorder. And right now, I literally have my external microphone for my like video content. And I've been liking the way it sounds, so I'm just going to go ahead and let it ride with this thing. I don't know if I should hold it like a mic. I can't do that because I have to hold a baseball while I talk about such things, baseball related kind of. Before we dive into this topic that I've wanted to discuss and have discussed a lot of times, but want to take a little bit deeper dive. And let me just say real quick, the beauty of what I do, regarding, content creation of the sport of baseball is the simple fact that like I'm consistently evolving as a player, as a, instructor, coach, whatever you want to call it as well. So there's certain things that I go through, like experiences that I go through in my journey that, I learn and I grow. And again, beauty of this stuff is I can relay this to you guys and share it. So if I've done, a certain segment, whether it be like a YouTube video, Instagram post, TikTok video, Twitter feed, or podcast episode on something, in the past, that doesn't necessarily mean if I do it again, I'm going to be saying the same things because I grow, I learn, and that's the beauty of life, is you consistently can grow. So let's go ahead and talk about yesterday. Yesterday, December 12th, today's the 13th. I don't know when this episode is actually going to be published. But yesterday was the Puerto Rican All-Star Game, and I need to vent. This will be on episode 4 of the Winter Ball vlog as well, so you'll have to be on the lookout for that. But I need to vent because of the circumstances that occurred yesterday. And I make a joke because I literally got to the All-Star Game. And the All-Star Game, as you guys know, is like, it's a content creation, just heaven. There's so much to grasp. And I had all 3 cameras going at all points in the game. I was micing up guys and got some really good content. But I made a joke because if you were watching the game, I didn't pitch, and I made the joke like, hey, they just wanted me at this All-Star Game so I can, shoot content. But here's what I wanted to vent about, and baseball gods, thank you for this, but I agreed to pitch the 9th inning. I was extremely, extremely pumped to do so. All-Star Game, it was televised in the States, Fox Sports. Anytime I've pitched in one All-Star Game in pro ball, and it was in 2015. It was the hardest I've ever thrown, and just that aura of the game is so exciting and thrilling, and it's like, let's go. But anyways, long story short, again, venting here, but I head down to the bullpen, and I think in the 7th inning, we were up by maybe 1 or 3 at the time. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know we were winning. And I was like, let's go, dude. I have an opportunity to close this game out, freaking A, get a save, like all these cool things going through my head. Great vlog content, right? But they radioed down in the 8th as it started to rain. And they were like, hey, get going, in the 8th, maybe we need you to get 4 outs, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, no problem. So I get going, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling dangerous, feeling froggy, and couldn't have just been more excited for the opportunity to potentially pitch in the 9th inning or whatever inning it was in the All-Star Game against these guys. And then the rain comes heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier, and you guys will see this on episode 4 of the vlog because I'm vlogging this whole thing. And finally, they pulled a tarp. It's a turf field, but like they had grass mounds and grass home plate and bases and stuff. But they pulled the tarp, and then we get a phone call about 5 minutes later saying, "Hey, they're calling the game," because we were up by 4, I think, at that point. And it's an all-star game, so you don't really want to get anyone hurt, right? But they called it after technically completion through 8 innings, and I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't able to pitch the 9th inning, so I didn't even pitch. And just very unfortunate because, like I said, you kind of live for those moments, right? Especially the competition of knowing that it's the best in the league, and you want to see where you stack up. And the fact that it's nationally televised game had something to do with it as well. But okay, we won't be venting any more, but I wanted to talk about this particular topic in pertaining to confidence, conviction, security, all these kind of things that I put a lot of emphasis on pertaining to the mental game, right? The mental side of sports and athletics and stuff. And I do want to say, by no means do I believe that I'm like super far advanced and have all of this stuff figured out. Like, obviously I don't, but what I can do is I can just speak on experiences, right? And I can speak on certain things that I've learned throughout those experiences, and just start from there and give you guys some context and insight on how I go through things and what I learned from those things. Okay, so we're going to be talking about like the dynamic of regaining lost confidence. Okay, so there's a lot of layers into confidence, and I've spoke on this in the past about confidence and self-conviction and what actually promotes that. Like what is it that gives somebody confidence? And I've talked a lot about in the past on how you can look at confidence as, an external and an internal thing. You obviously need internal confidence, but there's an idea and a thought behind the influence of like external confidence, basically meaning, if you have a coach or a mentor, instructor, or whatever that is constantly feeding you like positivity, right? And telling you how good you are consistently, that's gonna influence a higher kind of conviction in yourself, because you're having someone, or something from an external environment kind of feed into your internal beliefs, right? And then you could have the exact opposite, right? Because if you're listening to this and you're a ball player or whatever, you probably have gone through an experience in which you've come into contact with a coach somewhere in your journey that believes in order to get like the best out of somebody, that it needs to kind of be this like, hey, you suck, we need more out of you. And then they believe that sparks some sense of a fire in that person. And then therefore there's like, I'm going to be better and blah, blah, blah. So I know I make fun of that, but there is truth to that, right? Like, it's identification of the individual that you're working with or you're dealing with on like, okay, how do I get the best out of them? Is it something in which I need to be hard, kind of crude? If you guys seen the movie Whiplash, it's kind of very similar to that, right? Where you have this guy that maybe wouldn't have ever lived up to his potential if you hadn't been so tough or hard on that person. But through that process, right, there's some sense of like you're losing that internal confidence in your abilities because there's doubt. And I've talked about doubt a lot of times on this podcast. So there's that, and again, we're speaking from external environment standpoint, and then like I said earlier, there's the opposite, where like you have somebody that you hold to a high standard, or you hold importance and value in your life that obviously carries weight, right? Their words carry weight, and they're giving you positive affirmation after affirmation, and you're just like, wow, man, I'm really good, right? So it's the same thing when I say like watch guys at the professional level, like throw bullpens, and watch what the people watching that person throw a bullpen do. Like, so for example, when one of our teammates here throws a pen, like we'll watch, and everything is like positive affirmation, and you'll just see over time that the more like that a babe, that's nasty, that's gross, that you get, it happens more consistently. Whereas on the opposite side of that spectrum, right, if you had a coach that was kind of just like dogging your pitches or whatever, or dogging you around a BP, it's probably going to be the opposite. Again, there's this whole concept that I need you to lay this foundation first, that is the individual. Whereas like some individuals have this sense of needing, maybe not needing, but doing better with affirmation. And some individuals do better when, you know, you dog them. So I would literally put it in like those two categories. So getting back to the kind of the underlying topic that I want to talk about in regards to regaining lost confidence is when you lose confidence or when you lose conviction, there needs to be experience that influences the loss of that confidence, right? So the experience after you get done experiencing it is obviously in the past. And I've talked before about like mindset and like the mental approach of the actual like brain monitoring like futuristic threat from past experiences. A prime example of that is if you're a pitcher and you go out and you have a terrible outing, or you go out and you literally can't find the strike zone. That moment is in the past, but like your brain's responsibility is to monitor future threat from past experience. So then if that particular environment or that situation comes up again, it's obviously taking context from the past to then prepare you for that present moment, which potentially isn't that freaking great because of how embarrassed you felt and then the emotions that you felt during that trauma, right, if you will. So again, I'm not here to say that I know everything, but I can provide some sense of clarity to things that I've learned in my journey and things that have helped. Okay, so if you don't know my story, I have been through pretty much any bad experiences you can think of at the professional stage. I've been the guy that has gone out and can't get out of an inning because I'm getting freaking barreled around. I have been the guy that has gone out for an outing and literally felt like I was throwing left-handed and not really having any sense of the strike zone. I have been a guy that has gone out and done extremely well and probably have been the most talented guy on the field at the given time. So I've kind of been all these guys and I've experienced all these experiences, and I'm here to tell you today on how I have kind of gone about regaining lost confidence. And I think, we preface this whole thing by talking about the two different types of individuals. I think the most important piece is to truly identify what type of individual you are. Now, as much as we are all alpha males and would probably like to say, oh, hey, like, frickin' I'm better when people doubt me. I'm better when like people talk smack and all this stuff. I feel like that's more of a alpha male-ish type thing that I may believe we all want to kind of be. But the reality of the situation is like, we're not all that person. I'll be the first to admit that I don't do well in those environments. I've had coaches in my career that go about their way of coaching by doing those types of things, right? Like, shouting matches and trying to get the best out of you by, verbal sense or physical kind of sense, challenges, whatever. And what I found out about myself, and I've been very vocal about this, was that I just found myself being the typical people pleaser, trying as hard as I can mentally and physically to please people, to please others around me. And what that did was just put more pressure than there already is, right? Because we know that this game, life in general, requires, a lot, and it influences a lot of pressure. And I was just finding that I was like, wait, the task that I'm trying to complete is already hard enough. Like, why am I trying to make this harder by just trying to please this person or these people or this organization? And I found that was just my nature by way of their kind of coaching style, I guess. Whereas on the flip side of the spectrum, like, I do really well when like there's a lot of positive affirmation. There's challenge, but it's a different type of challenge, I guess you would say. So I think that's the biggest piece that you could take from this is like truly identify what you do well in, and then try to surround yourself with individuals that, and it's not, I know how this kind of comes off, and it's not saying like, hey, like you want to be coddled and babied, right? Because we know like real world doesn't really work that way, but there is a sense of knowing like, man, I really don't do well in these particular environments. So maybe I can dabble and try to adapt and evolve, because there is maybe a point in time that we need to do that. But at the end of the day, for you to put yourself in the best possible situation to be successful, it's knowing what it takes for you to be put in that position and put in that environment for you to flourish, right? And if you're obviously, if you're a really good instructor, if you're a really good mentor or coach or whatever, you can identify that and you can mold your tactics and strategies and game plan to fit every individual that you're trying to get the best out of, to truly identify what that is going to take for that individual you're working with to be the very best version of their self. But sometimes it doesn't work that way, right? A lot of times we have this kind of one size fits all, or even that particular coach, instructor, mentor, whatever, had gone through experiences where they had a coach that was like that, and then they just adopted that kind of philosophy, and it doesn't really always work out. Identification is like my biggest message, man. So now on to the piece that I have kind of found that really helps. And we talk about confidence, like what is confidence, right? Is confidence stemmed from your like unique ability to prepare and separate yourself from everyone else by the way that you prepare, basically being like the absolute hardest and smartest worker, and that gives you a sense of like confidence in approaching the task because you've prepared so intentionally and diligently? Absolutely. Confidence is also obviously like the results. Why was that so hard to say? Like the confidence, like the results give you confidence, right? Like if you're a kid and you just kind of go along with what everyone else is doing, you start to just realize that, wow, I'm better at all of these tasks than everyone else. That gives you a sense of confidence. There's also the theory, not theory, but notion like with girls, right? Sometimes when you're growing up and you're younger, it's hard to talk to girls. And then I think the more you do it and, maybe the more repetitions that you get at it, maybe the better you become at that. It's kind of somewhat similar. So I guess what I'm trying to say that I've kind of learned throughout my experiences is checking all the right boxes, putting yourself in the best environment, best situation for you to get like the most out of yourself, right? Like the true identification of the type of individual that you are, and knowing what environments and styles, I guess, that really allow you to be someone that is comfortable enough to be the best. And a good example, going back to like my journey with this, is me when I'm trying to please somebody that I don't even know if I want to go in this, but me doing my thing and struggling and fighting so hard. It's like quicksand, right? You get stuck, and your initial response is to try harder, mentally, physically. In the game, it's probably both. And that initial response of trying harder and working harder to try to get out of this quicksand, it's like that quote from The Replacements, right? Shout out Keanu Reeves. And the harder you try, the deeper and deeper you sink. And then it's not until really like the end of you about to go under that you realize, like, man, I just exhausted all of this energy and this effort to just kind of realize that it's do less. And that's like the biggest message probably throughout my entire career. Not so much do less, but like almost this care less type thing. And I'm going to lay this whole roadmap out for you on how I approach this entire dynamic. So get your notepad out. So regaining lost confidence in general, performance anxiety, all these things. What do you have to do to be confident, which promotes optimal performance? The way that I look at it is like, check all of the right boxes, right? So there's all of these potential boxes for you to check in order for you to just say, like, be confident. Check all the right boxes. Prepare extremely diligently. I think that's the right wordage. So one box is like, say, 8+ hours of sleep. The other box is like, be a good human being to everybody. The other box is like, 3 times a week you got to hit the weight room and not skip a rep. The other box is say, like, do all your homework. Like, do all of these particular tasks and complete them, because I've talked about this too in the past, like, where task completion gives you this sense of, like, internal conviction and confidence. Like, man, I'm on a roll today, right? So check all those boxes. Prepare as best that you know how, as smart as you know how. It's like preparing for a test, right? Or going into a room and trying to do a test when you haven't prepared for it. There's that sense of like, oh, I'm not really confident in this. Same thing for the game of baseball, right? So check all of the right boxes to make sure that you're putting yourself in the best environment. You can go another layer to this and make sure that you commit to the right school, you play for the right coach, play for the right, team, that you truly can say that you have put yourself in that environment for you to succeed. Like, you're given your personality, given the personality of all of the coaching staff, whatever, check that box as well. All right. And obviously there's some times where you don't have the power to choose. Sometimes it's just kind of whatever, but you do have the power to filter out certain people. Right. So check all the right boxes, man. And then and again, this is my kind of roadmap. And then when it comes time, when like push comes to shove and you're in there and you're about to perform, care less. Because obviously you're going to care. If you're anything like me and you're extremely passionate about this game, like, sometimes caring so much about this game and caring so much about, like, doing well in this game is sometimes going to hinder your performance, because you put so much of this internal pressure on yourself that it becomes unbearable. You literally cannot be your absolute best self, best pitcher, best hitter, best teammate, whatever, if you're facing all of this freaking pressure. It's like you're struggling to get oxygen, right? You can't breathe. So check all the right boxes, and then when it comes time to perform, it's the word is trust, right? Because what is not confidence is doubt. And what is doubt, right? What is self-doubt? We talked earlier about, like, bad experiences sometimes in the past kind of present themselves in the present moment, because you're not wanting to be put into environments where you have experienced a specific emotion that you just absolutely hated and you wanted to flee from that, right? Like fight or flight. But it's careless. And I think when we stop caring, like, so much about trying to control every aspect of what is occurring in our mind and in our bodies when we're in performance, then we can then find that flow state. Remember, like, I talk about this a lot. Flow state is like the state in which mentally you're off and you're just flowing. Your body's just moving and you're allowing yourself to be free and just flow, dude. Like on a surfboard, right? Like, you can't mentally be conscious of so many different moving parts. Say, as a pitcher, there's so many things you're doing mechanically, and as a hitter, there's so many, like, things you're doing, that if you are consciously trying to, like, connect your brain, body, and make these kind of conscious thoughts during the activity, during the movement, that it's going to promote this restriction, right? So I think when we do all that, right, when we put ourselves in the best possible situation, environment to succeed, right, when we're comfortable, when we've prepared, we've checked all these boxes, we've done everything that we needed to do to put ourselves in the best possible situation physically and mentally to succeed. And then when we're in the moment, when we're in battle, right, like, how can we then turn this off and just trust that prep and be convicted and confident within what we've done up into this point to get here, and now we go. Because, like, I'll be honest, like, obviously, you know, if you guys have followed me for a while, you know how much work I put into my craft and, you know, the things that I do day in and day out to put myself in a good position to succeed. And then there's sometimes I go out in a game and I suck and I'm not confident. And I think those same times, we can talk all the live long day about how sometimes you're not going to have your best stuff, and that's a physical thing, like whatever, brush it off. But there's a lot of times where I still go out there sometimes, and you know, the environment is different. You know, there's maybe more on the line, and it's harder for me to turn off mentally, right? And then we fall into that same trap again. So that's something, and I've talked about this in the past too, that's something that needs to be put into practice. And the something is the ability to turn upstairs off and practice, like, your breath, practice flow state. How can we get there? What is it for me that I need to do to get there? Sometimes, like, I've had success with some clients where I'm like, hey man, like, sing a song, think about something totally different. Put yourself, remember in the Happy Gilmore movie? I'm referencing a lot of movies here. Go to your happy place, right? Go to a place in your mind that's comfortable. And it's hard to do. It's really hard to do, especially if you care a lot, because, like, your brain wants to be in that present moment, and feeling all of those emotions that come with that present moment. I know from experience. But can you put into practice a specific set of, like, routines or whatever that can put you that can move the needle a little bit for you to find that happy spot, and to, once you, like, learn there, you can kind of put a routine together and a set practices. I've kind of gone over this already in other podcasts where there's, like, breath routines, there's visualization routines, there's meditation routines, all these things that I kind of do that influence that ability to happen, like, when you're in the moment. Because when you're in the moment and you're performing, like, things speed up. We know that. And sometimes it becomes extremely difficult to clear your mind in those moments. Because externally and internally, it's both really loud, right? And it's hard. But you can always put into practice that kind of stuff and get better at it. Because the flip side of that is, like, all right, well, you can listen to this podcast or watch this podcast on YouTube, and you can understand it, you can grasp all these concepts, but to do it is a different thing, right? So regaining lost confidence, I think it's not necessarily like you got to freaking reinvent the wheel and you got to start from scratch. If we're regaining lost confidence, then we once had confidence. And this is a prime example I hear often, right? This is literally the one, and I could attest to this as well. Oh man, in high school I was just better than everyone, and I didn't really have to think anything, or I didn't have to do anything really extra because I already knew that I was better than everyone. So I just went out and was better than everyone, right? And, like, that super simplistic approach right there, even though obviously the talent level is extremely difficult than maybe college or pro ball or whatever, but the mindset was right. And that's what we kind of need to remember was, you know, the mindset in those moments of which you were at your best was probably the mindset that you need. Now, it's, again, hard to get back sometimes when certain circumstances and certain experiences don't really match up to that, right? So, for example, if you're trying to be mentally strong and say that you're so good and so much better than everyone, it's hard to be in that mindset when, like, your last 4 outings, you've given up freaking 17 runs combined, or, right, like, your last 20 ABs, you're 0 for 20 with 19 punchies, right? Like, it's hard. It really is hard, but it's the hard that makes it so beautiful and so unique. Another movie quote there, Tom Hanks, League of Their Own. It's the hard that makes it good, because if it was easy, everyone would freaking play it, right? So regaining lost confidence, you had it at one point and you lost it because of certain experiences. And I'm here to tell you today that you really hadn't lost it. Don't let certain experiences carry so much weight in your mind. And that's the hard part. And once I figure that out, I'll let you guys know, because I haven't, obviously. I'm not in the big leagues and never giving up hits, right? But the beauty of this life that we live and the beauty of the game of baseball is that you're consistently putting yourself in environments in which you can experience certain things, whether it be positive or negative. You can take that for what it's worth, but that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you for listening. And if you're on YouTube watching this, thank you. Saber Eye Metrics is the shirt that I'm wearing right now. If you're watching this, this is a rake shirt. Fits the arms really nicely. You can go ahead and pick your Saber Eye Metrics apparel up. SaberEyeMetrics.com, I believe. I'll include the link in the show notes, but you can also claim a discount. And that discount is Robby. R-O-B-B-Y. If you spell it wrong, you probably don't get to claim your discount. Simple as that. What do I got on my table? I got vlog episodes, winter ball vlog episodes coming out. Be sure to check that out on YouTube. I'm going to have an ebook coming out. You can be sure to check that out. TheRobbyRowShow.com/ebook. And there's so much more on my YouTube, man. I'm putting out stuff, so don't miss it. All right, don't miss it. Please don't miss it. Okay, that's what I got for you guys today. It's the 13th. That means my birthday's in 2 days, and I'm turning 18, I think. Big day. We have an off day today. Tomorrow we're back at it. I got stuff to do. I got to go. Love you guys. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for listening. See ya.